Today I'm making the summariest of treats, lemon lavender squares. You'll need some lavender, food grade of course if bought, or harvested from the garden if you're lucky enough to have one of those. These lemon lavender squares have 2 layers, so let's start building from the bottom up. Ingredients you'll need are lavender, flour, ground almonds, sugar and vegan butter that's just out of the fridge and cut into cubes. Get out a spice grinder or a mortar and pestle. If you have neither, you can put the lavender in a Ziploc bag and attack it with a hammer. How much lavender you use depends on your taste, but you can use a little more. After all, it'll have to compete with the quite intense lemon flavor. I recommend around 6-7 sprigs of lavender. Then get out a large bowl. Combine flour, almonds, sugar and lavender. Then add the butter cubes and squish into the dry ingredients. Once you get to a kind of a crumb structure, start using your hand. The warmth of your hand will melt butter just enough to give you a smooth dough. And there we are! Form a dough ball and put it in the fridge for an hour. Once the hour is nearly up, get out a baking dish and line it with baking paper. Pro tip, you can use the dough as is to make cookies. But we're going for something else, so let's squish the dough into the baking dish to form a flat layer. Bake at 180 degrees Celsius for 15 minutes. As you enjoy the scent of lavender wafting from the oven, let's work on the top layer. The ingredients are the zest of 2 lemons and the juice of 4. Sugar, cornstarch, coconut milk, a pinch of salt and turmeric for color. Get out a pot, a large one. I'm only using a small one because it's easier to film, but it's very important you use a large pot. The reasons will become very obvious later in the video. Start by zesting and juicing lemons. Add a can of coconut milk and the sugar and a pinch of salt. Now let's move this party to the stove. Remember the turmeric? Around half a teaspoon will give a wonderful bright yellow color but not interfere with the flavor. Bring to a boil very slowly and stir occasionally. Dissolve the cornstarch in a little water. Once the lemon juice is boiling, add the cornstarch. And maybe try and be slightly tidier than me. Bring back to a boil. Stir as the mix thickens. Stirring stops the starch settling on the bottom and burning. The thickening mix will get quite agitated when hot, so a large pot is called for. Get the dough from the oven and pour in the lemon curd. Put it back in the oven and bake for 20 minutes at 150 degrees Celsius. If the top of the lemon curd starts to brown, cover it lightly with tin foil to protect the color. When the bars are done baking, set them on the counter to cool and then place in the fridge overnight to set. And here we are, all set and ready to be cut into squares. They are pretty intense, in a good way. So when cutting, I'd err on the side of smaller portions, so nobody gets overwhelmed. I hope you try this recipe. If you do, let me know how it turned out. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, why not subscribe?